And welcome back for, I guess, episode 1 of Iron Curtain grades our shit. Today we wanted to go off book a little bit here. We've got a few test bases up and running, and we're going to be debuting videos for those pretty quickly, but we wanted to show you an original design. Something that we have actually put together. Spoiler! Built it outside of town a little bit, but what it does is take some ideas that we have done in the past, some ideas that I built in Alpha 16, Alpha 17, and in other games in Alpha 18, had a lot of success with them, and we've decided to push it out to its furthest extreme, take it to its most ridiculous extent to see if this is something that will actually hold up for real, with a lot of people, a lot of Zeds, and a lot of activity. And here we are. Turning on flight mode here, I'll give you guys a little bit of a bird's eye view. As you can see, this is an insane wall of bullshit. This is kind of similar to the moat design we tested a few weeks back. It shares some commonality with that, but rather than being in a deep hole, it is just an almost unending field of trash that they're going to have to walk through. The idea here being that no matter what side they come from, they're going to have to wade through a giant pile of barbed wire, which will slow them down considerably. Then this giant pile of spikes, which will slow them down even more. And if and when they should actually get this far, we've got not one, but two sets of the offset bars and wedge tip design. If you're unfamiliar with this concept, what happens is when they walk up to it, they come here, they start swinging, and they basically end up swinging into this empty void. Now, that's not foolproof. These can come down. I've seen them come down. But they are pretty durable, especially made out of regular steel like this. And they do have a tendency to last quite a while in any given horde night. And that's with just one set of them. Me being hyperactive and anal retentive, I've decided to double down, making this essentially impenetrable unless we have just a cascade of demolishers going off on the same set. Walking around a little bit to give you, a little view on how this was put together. Let's go back up in the air here. The particular dimensions for this concept don't really matter. As you can see, I have doubled down in just about every degree. All of the floor concrete and everything is also buried at least one row, so things are a little tougher than they seem. But every row, every floor, every surface is at least 2 thick, with the exception of the ceiling. Now, I could have done a dug trench like what we did for the moat base, where we would enter a hatch somewhere over here and come up from underneath. That idea is pretty tried and true, no big surprises there. Decided to change it up a little bit with some concept I've seen variations of an above ground access. This is a set of stairs, a big empty gap that is far too big for all but the squirreliest of spiders to cross, and even if they do make it across, they're going to hit some pretty tough steel doors right there. The players open doors, come across through here, jump this once again just for a little added security. If anything happens to shamble or if the doors are gone, they're just going to fall into the spikes there, while everyone else sits up here just blasting away. This gap is actually closed courtesy of this garage door, which you can see is protected a little bit on the opposite side. The concept being you open the garage door, get a little bit of a jump, away you go. Once you're crossed, like that. It's essentially a drawbridge, but it takes up a little less space and doesn't block quite as much of the vertical view as a drawbridge. You could use a drawbridge if you wanted to make an entrance point like this. It really isn't particularly essential. I just wanted to give this a shot. I've played around with this concept in the past and had some luck with it, so I thought I'd give it a whirl here and see how it held up. Now, once inside, this is all pretty straightforward. It's iron bars, a little ledge to peek out over, get anything chewing on the walls. An eventual escape route here up to the roof where you can hop down, hit the entrance there if you have to get out for some reason. And taking you down the ladder, it's again pretty straightforward. So you're inside the double bars. There's some generators powering each set of these corner blade traps going here. Turn these on just for demonstration purposes. You can get a look there. The idea being that any Zeds that are chewing on these bars are going to be pretty easy to put down from either this floor or the second floor. But if they're behind these concrete pillars, that could get a little dicier, so we've got some blade traps in there to do a little bit of the work for us. Let's turn these on and test it just to make sure I did my wiring correctly. Yeah, looks good, looks good. Coming back up here, you can see this is a pretty straightforward shot. Anything coming from any direction. There's not a lot in the way of visual blockages or anything that's going to get in the way. So what I think this is going to be, and what I hope this is going to be, is kind of the answer to the XP problem from our previous pit-based design. Now, bases like that pit can be really good at controlling populations and doing a lot of things, but what they're not good at is providing the users with a lot of experience. This, however, with this giant wave of bullshit here to slow them down, but not quite deliver the killing blow, should be a monstrous amount of experience. Now, I will caveat that and say that this is guaranteed going to be an expensive night. This is going to cost a metric shit ton of ammo with 5 people. That's kind of a design choice on this part. If you want to build an XP base that's really resource intensive, I think this is going to be the route to go. If you want to do something that saves you a lot of resources and is really easy, almost an AFK base, then you're going to want to look at something like the pit. It's definitely a personal preference, I think, at this point, provided this holds up. So, as always, I grade the builds on 2 categories. In terms of supplies needed, D. This is expensive as all hell. This has to be done endgame. You can see the marker over there. Basically, that entire field is hollowed out underneath, and I've been gathering just massive amounts of stone in order to make concrete and all of the various other supplies. And this cost a literal fortune. The barbed wire per unit is not cheap, but this is hundreds of them. The iron spikes, not cheap, and this is hundreds of them. And as I mentioned, all of my concrete construction is always doubled down and super redundant, so this is consuming more in that regard than what it even looks like. So, in terms of supplies needed, a D. This is expensive. You have to be well established and well prepared in order to even consider building something like this. For build difficulty, not very. I'm going to say an A. Now, yes, you have to have the forge time and the resources to make everything, like I just talked, but in terms of the actual work, it's pretty straightforward. It's not a very complex process. The specific dimensions of it don't particularly matter. As I was building it out, it was just kind of a matter of digging this one deep trench and saying, yeah, I guess that looks probably about big enough. Putting out this slab here for all the barbed wire, and yeah, I guess that probably looks about big enough, and going from there. I always like to build symmetrically, personal preference, but even that's not that crucial for something like this. The idea is to just have a tower with a giant wall of shit for them to march through in order to get to you. We're secured from above, so birds shouldn't be a massive issue. I suspect that the cops are going to land some spit, but, you know, such is life. But in general, this was pretty easy, pretty straightforward to put together. So yeah, build difficulty, I'm going to say an A. If you know how to build a base, there's nothing here that's going to surprise you. There's nothing here that's too wonky. Probably the trickiest thing when you're dropping a garage door is make sure it's facing the right direction and closes in the direction that you want it to. But, you know, oh well. As far as the upcoming Horde Night, we're actually going to be recording that a little later this evening. I have high expectations. Like I said, I think this is going to cost a shit ton of ammo, and X is just really upset that I'm not talking to him in Discord while I record this. I think this is going to cost us a shit ton of ammo, but I think we're also all going to see just a completely ridiculous amount of experience out of it, and at no point, provided this concept holds, should we be in any kind of serious danger. The worst thing that can happen here is if somebody is up on one of these things and falls. Yes, at that point, that's a little bit problematic. You know, so I'll say in advance while none of the others are around that if they do that, that's their fault, and I have no sympathies. So, Horde Night coming up. Let's see how she does.
They're going to spawn in here. It's going to be great.
Thunderdome.
Yeah, right.
I'm just going to sit up on the roof. Who run Bada Town? All right, so 5 minutes to the Horde Night. Here we are, gathered up, clustered in the bars. It feels like we should be putting zombies in cages, not ourselves, but hey, you know, it's not an ideal world. What can you do?
Northeast corner.
Yeah, northeast. Having rounds in the mag helps a lot.
It does, generally.
We may not hear much from Hells tonight. He lives on the west coast and claims to have the flu. Flu. Nobody say
Demo
the word,
guy.
or YouTube will unlist us. Boy, that bitch right there is down to the last stack of wire.
Yeah, there's been a couple of them starting to sneak through.
Well, they still got the spikes and whatnot to go through. Barbed wire is not the most durable stuff in the world. That's for damn sure.
Especially not anymore.
No, I really miss the flat plate wire you could put on stuff. That was substantially better.
Oh, that's a demo guy. Got him.
I hear the tick tick.
He did.
No boom.
Damn, I just realized this would have been an awesome one to bring the turrets out for.
Yeah, maybe. I noticed in the comments people tend to get all pissy. It was funny in the last video. Everyone was talking about, well, of course you were having demo guys. They set off, the junk turrets set off the demo guys, and then you go back and watch the actual footage, and the turrets were never firing when any of the demo guys popped. But whatever.
These demo guys are getting a little close.
One less
Get outta here.
nitpicky bullshit point then. Got another one here in northeast.
He did.
Boom!
That did some
That's
work.
one for the highlight reels.
Almost on my second repair of my AR.
I did switch to normal off of the AP rounds for tonight. I figured that would be really hard on the weapons.
Funny, I went the other way.
Wow, really?
Yeah, see, I've done one most of the time.
Oh, that's why you're on second repair.
I kept AP rounds for the sniper rifle.
Sure.
Considering
Good
the
for
number
going
of
through
demo
the
guys we got last time, I was just ready to repair.
Hey, I actually took out some barbed wire. That stuff must have been really close to gone. One thing I do like with this sort of underset spike thing is it keeps them from immediately crashing into it. They have a tendency to try to walk over it and get a little ways in without doing all of the upfront damage to the first spike in the row, which makes them last
Yeah.
longer and does just as much damage.
Yeah, they're not standing there actively pounding on it.
Okay, I was at level 211 when we started, and I'm at 213 now. That is an ass ton of XP for an hour and a half in. Granted, that's with our scaling, as mentioned previously, but still. Oh, Fatty Boom Boom took out some wire. Well, that works. How do you like it, fuck whistle?
Oh, that one got off.
Yeah,
That's the first
he
one
was
who scored all night,
berserk.
though.
Yeah.
Davian started playing 7 Days to Die again.
About 7 times so far.
I had to turn those off. They kept appearing during like my build recordings and whatnot. Very excited to see you playing Skyrim again, though, and I've got to tell you, I like it when you go with the fresh titles.
I haven't touched Skyrim in a while.
You realize I'm going to cut that part out, right?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, we just had 3 boomers go off on the line.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. They haven't really done much, though. They're fucking up dirt. I mean, yeah, it's like concrete over there can't take a ton of hits, but none of it's shattered yet.
So you're talking about them spawning inside with us. Well, Vulture did. At least he got into it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that they got in. He probably did swoop around and...
Oh god.
What?
He's outside.
Did you fall?
My frames decided I needed to play a little bit closer to the app.
Oh, fuck, yeah. Oh no, don't pop. Shit.
That took out a lot.
That one hurt. But this time at least, one demo going off in a bad place doesn't mean the whole goddamn base collapses.
Nope.
Or stops working.
Great.
remember, it didn't collapse. It just
No.
stopped.
It stayed alive until Hells and I decided to take it down.
Yeah, it was being held up by unicorn wishes.
Anybody else see that tree just got knocked down in the back?
Yeah, I just cut down a tree with a fucking MP5. I am
The most violent
goddamn
lumberjack ever.
lumberjack.
Seems like an inefficient way to gather wood, I'm not gonna lie. Nice.
There goes one.
He blew up in the field. He's
He
fine.
was on dirt. I think I just shot a landmine.
There were some over there. I mean, that's a military base right there to the southeast, so...
I think I tagged one.
Yeah, I thought I popped them all, but I probably missed more than one. Oh no.
Oh, it's
do
not
it.
good.
Don't do it, fucker. Damn it.
He did it. I was reloading.
Fat piece of shit, so was I. Sounds like a bird in the face or nearby. Oh, look at this fucker.
I'm gonna blow up out there.
Pumping the bars behind me, trying to eat me through them. Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
This barbed wire setup also does a really great job of spreading them out.
It does.
Yeah.
They don't seem to come through one point. They kind of launch against the entire line, which really makes it easy to clean house. It's interesting to
again.
see how their pathing works, because you'll watch them sort of run up to the line, hit a 90-degree turn, run along it, pick a random spot, hit another 90-degree turn, and then run straight in. I'd be curious to know exactly what it's doing to the AI that makes them come at it at right angles like that.
Coming in a
That's
straight line to us, then reevaluating when it gets a when it actually hits the obstacle.
Yeah, maybe.
And it does its best to try and find its way around. When it can't, it just tries to brute force its way through.
I love it when the corpses go flying.
I'm zoomed in and I just have like 6 dead dogs come sailing through my viewfinder. Okay, and that is the Horde Night. Let's turn these traps off, take a little stock on gas here. We filled these up, started them at 2150, and let's see, burned about 125 there, ballpark. And probably about the same here. Yeah, exactly the same. So we'll call it 250 gas for the evening. That was a really quiet and uneventful night, which I think is a good thing. We can sail around outside here. This thing is remarkably unscathed. The only part that took a bit of a beating was this southeast corner here. We are missing 6 blocks. We've got, let's call it another 20-25 that needs substantial repair work. Everything else is just lightly pinged. Scrolling around, we're missing probably 100, 150 barbed wire, and I would say probably less than 50 spikes total. So, for durability, nothing substantial broke. Everything that did go is easily replaced. That looked like it hurt. I'm going to say an A. I think durability, this held up exceedingly well. Any objections to that?
Nope.
Nope.
In terms of safety, how safe was everybody? Hells fell outside the goddamn thing and he still never even got touched. They never even remotely came up to the slab. None of the blade traps ever came into play. The closest anything got was the final row of spikes on this corner right here, which is nothing. I think safety, this is another hard A. This
How I have it. How safe was I? Bored.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this shares that in common with the pit base. We were never engaged. We never really had to do anything except shoot them like ducks in a gallery. There was nothing there. It was just line them up and knock them down. And I think we all put up some pretty obscene levels of experience for the evening, which is exactly what I was hoping it would do. And are the Zeds controlled? Yeah. There were never any issues with where the Zeds were, where they were going to be. As we talked about, it was interesting to see them kind of, the way they approached this base, because they wouldn't attack one specific point in the wall of barbed wire. They were actually spreading out along its entire width, or a good chunk of its width, and all coming in individually single file. That made it really easy to clean them up, and really easy to predict where they were going to be. If they were coming from the west, you just had to look west and knock them down like bowling pins. So, are the Zeds controlled? Yeah, I'm saying A. There's no
Yeah.
surprises there at all.
Yeah, well, the only surprise was that one bird that managed to like Mr. Magoo its way inside.
I'll just give that bird some props though.
Yeah, that's creative. I had that one chewing on the bars behind me when I was standing out here on the platform. I just heard it squawking and turned around, and it was trying to get to me like some sort of Walking Dead thing. But other than the pair of Mr. Magoo penguins, I think we can still say that are the Zeds controlled. Yeah, that's a good heavy solid A. Resources used. So gasoline, as we discussed, about 250. That's fantastic. That's just fuck all. 250 gas is less than nothing. You can find that in a refrigerator somewhere sometimes. I mean, that's insane. I found 250 gas in the back of our own couch cushions. Ammo.
Most of that from Nev.
Ammo was another really low evening, actually. I'm quite surprised by how little ammo I personally burned. All told, we'll call it 1,800 rounds between the 7.62 and the 9mm. Working down the list, Davian, what'd you use for ammo?
I only actually went through about 1,000 rounds of 9mm and about 400 rounds of AP 7.62. I did a lot more work with the sniper rifle this time around because they were coming straight at me, so headshots are really nice.
Sure. So we'll say 35 at that point. Nev, what'd you end up burning through?
Just over 3,700.
So we'll call it 7K there, round up a little bit. X, how about you?
Went through about 2,300 of 7.62 and like 100 of 9mm.
Well, let's call it 9,200 then. Well, again, we'll round up. We'll be generous here. And the murder machine, Hells, how much ammo did you use?
3,000 maybe.
So we'll say approximately 12,000 rounds. This is the lowest ammo base we've tested yet. Here I was predicting in the build section that this was going to be a high ammo consumption, and it was almost half of everything else. I'm
Oh,
really
caveat.
surprised by that. What's up?
Caveat. X, how many rockets?
About 22 rockets and about 18 Molotovs.
That's true. I went through about 14 Molotovs.
25 contact grenades. Still
Still
low.
half. I mean, this is a fraction of what we've used in some of the other builds.
True. This is what I expect the pit base to use if we didn't get that weird all glowing ones night for it.
So for resources used, obviously that's another A. I mean, this is the best resource performer we've had to date, which blows my mind. I went into this thinking that it would be high XP, high ammo, and it turned out to be high XP, low ammo. For repair, again, that is just nothing. The repair work here would probably take about 20 minutes in real time. So if you can afford to build this thing, you can afford to patch up that little section there and be good to go. For cheese,
Baked potato.
yeah, this is
Yep,
baked
baked
potato.
potato.
There's no cheese here. Now, you could make the argument that these raptor pen walls here, this setup is a little cheesy, and I think if they had come into play, the cheese rating would be a little higher for sure. Maybe craft singles.
Maybe grab singles.
But that never came up. So if you wanted to do this, you could theoretically just build a straight tower with some iron bars there and avoid that, bar cage concept entirely, and you'd be fine. And I'll take some good solid still shots if you want to see the actual dimensions of this. See, you can count the rows here in both directions. Like I said earlier, the dimensions aren't that critical, but you can get an idea of what we did here. Yeah, cheese is a baked potato. This held up really well, and it wasn't trying to scam anything. It wasn't exploiting anything. They just came into a giant wall of barbed wire and died. And for the chances of being patched out, 0. What's to patch?
There's
This is-
nothing to patch out of this.
This is barbed wire and spikes. There's nothing to patch. This isn't even that creative of a build. It's just a block on a concrete slab surrounded by bullshit.
This is the essence of the game here.
Yeah, for real. So final grade, I'm actually really pleasantly surprised. The areas where I thought that this might be weak, especially in terms of ammo consumption, it turned out to be amazingly good. We were never in any even remote kind of danger. It was actually a pretty boring Horde night overall. So if you're looking to farm a lot of XP and stay safe in the process without having, maybe bust out the knuckles the whole time, this is, of everything we've done so far, definitely the way to go. Final grade, I'm saying A. I can't think of any reason it's not an A.
Only caveat I would have is just the build difficulty itself, so maybe like A minus, because it is pretty resource intensive to put together.
That's true. That's true. It is a
A
costly
minus,
base.
B plus.
I talked about
Kinda
some of that
thing.
in the build section, and I gave it a D there because it's not a difficult thing to put together, but it is an extraordinarily expensive thing to put together when you're building this many
Yeah.
spikes, and that was a lot of mining, a lot of time in the forges to get all this strung up. So okay, I'll bend that, and we'll say A minus just because of the sheer expense involved in doing this. It held up well. We burned almost no ammo by comparison to some of the other shit shows we've been doing, and it scores an easy and cheap win. Well, stick around. The next couple, we actually already have 3 more bases built and ready to test. One of them is another sort of meta design test, and then we have 2 more originals waiting in the wings. We will have to see how all of that shakes out, and if anything can live up to the standards set by the Raptor Pen. Raptor Pen for the win! Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We appreciate it, and we will catch you next time.